So North was having a day, so she refused to be in the shoot and she just was crying because she wanted her specific hairstyle, whatever. So the next day, I said, fine, you're not going to be in the card. That's the decision, you're not going to be in the card.
Now to a murder mystery unfolding right here in New York City tonight. This wealthy hedge fund manager found dead in his luxury apartment, and this evening his son, a Princeton grad, charged with murder.
Entitlement isn't necessarily always a bad thing. Sometimes you are entitled to things such as getting paid by an employer you work for or relaxing after a long hard day of running around. But more times than not, it seems entitlement is confused with the false sense of entitlement. People who think they deserve things for logical reasons. We've seen lists expose entitled moms and dads, so why not make it a trifecta and throw some kids in there? Today we'll be counting down the top 10 entitled kids that went too far and got exposed. How's it going, guys? I'm your host Jared Bronstein and welcome back to I.O. Before we get into this one, let me know in the comments below what your plans are for the weekend. Bet you guys weren't expecting that. As always, we got some bonus content to follow our list, and make sure to follow the entire I.O. team on social media. For now, let's jump right into this one. Starting us off at number 10, 17-year-old Ronald. Ronald and his mother came on the show, and it was revealed that his mother, Thaisa, apparently works 120-hour weeks to supplement Ronald's income, or lack thereof. Of course, this isn't fair by any means, but Thaisa was genuinely concerned her son was either going to steal the money or do illegal things to obtain the cash he so desperately needs. With aspirations of becoming a famous YouTuber, I'm not sure if I want to give him the exposure he'll be getting from this video. That being said, I feel bad for his mother, and hopefully if he does make millions, he can take care of her. As you can imagine, Dr. Phil had some choice words for both Ronald and his mother, yet who knows how Ronald's been since last appearing on the show. Moving on to the number 9 spot, Olivia Richardson. Now this is an article from a local Sydney newspaper column, so names have been changed. Either way, Olivia here is the 17-year-old daughter of Steve and his loving wife. Unfortunately, Olivia is the furthest thing from loving. She dropped out of school, goes missing for days at a time, and smokes a lot of dope. She's been arrested for shoplifting, and most recently when she lost her iPhone, had a fit and screamed at her father to buy a new one. But in his words, I quote, "It couldn't just be any phone, it had to be the newest, most expensive iPhone. When I said the phone is your responsibility, she started abusing me, screaming at me and smashing her bedroom. She said, 'I'm going to destroy the house, I'm going to kill myself,' end quote." Following the incident, Steve called the cops out of fear his daughter was going to hurt herself. Now unfortunately, people don't realize how serious of a threat that really is, especially to a parent. Thankfully, Olivia didn't harm herself, and it seems she never had any intentions of doing so. The family sought counseling, and it's unclear where they stand now. But I mean, imagine thinking you deserve to get the latest iPhone after losing your old one. Now at number 8, Reddit user Anime Nuggets. One day our friend here was waiting for the bus when she noticed an older soldier behind her. Being a kind person, she decided to let the elderly veteran go ahead of her to get on the bus first. Little did our friend here know that behind the veteran was a bratty teenage girl, maybe 16 or so, who apparently has no respect. Out of nowhere, this girl yells, "Excuse me, why are you letting him go in first?" To which our user said, "It's my choice and he's an elder." This 16-year-old literally says, "But he's going to be slow and I need to get somewhere quickly, move out of the way." At this point, the 16-year-old pushed our user out of the way, to which she pushed right back. The 16-year-old screams, "Do you know who I am?" To which the soldier, now getting involved, turns around saying, "You're a brat with no respect for anyone." That comment set the 16-year-old off, which of course caused a commotion and got the attention of everyone on the bus, who were waiting while these three were getting on. The bus driver stepped in to calm the 16-year-old down, but eventually had to call security, who escorted her off the bus. Now in at 7, Mike. Mike's parents wrote into the Guardian's Ask Annalisa Barbieri column for some help regarding their 19-year-old son. He's quite problematic. So Mike here dropped out of school before graduating. Nothing wrong with that, the school system isn't for some people, and I respect that. However, instead of making something of himself, Mike feels he could just get whatever he wants whenever he wants. Although he works the odd labor job, it's apparent Mike gets the majority of his money from stealing. And stealing is bad regardless of who it's from, although personally, I think stealing from your parents and family is worse than, say, I don't know, the government. And that's what this man does. Mike steals from his parents and even his sister to fund his habits of smoking weed and doing nothing with his life. More specifically, Mike's mother has noticed pieces of her jewelry missing, and when she asked Mike about it, he claimed to know nothing. Mike's also stolen money from his sister, with their mother actually having evidence to prove it. Unfortunately, regardless of the advice Annalisa could offer, it seems 19-year-old Mike just thinks he deserves the world for some reason. At number 6, Another Beautiful Day. Catalin Onk and his girlfriend Elena Engelhardt are a couple of traveling influencers who share their travel experiences online. Pretty standard if you ask me. But when they decided to post a GoFundMe asking to help raise $16,000 so they could travel Africa, well, people weren't too happy. Now you may call that entitlement, I call it entrepreneurship, because if people are willing to give them money to travel, why wouldn't they take it? The entitlement part for me came when they admitted that Onk's mother works 2 full-time jobs to help fund their travels. That's where I have an issue with all this. I'm sure Onk's mother is a hardworking, loving mother, and I'm sure both Onk and his girlfriend are good people. But dude, if you're having your mom break her back so you could travel the world and post it on social media, you need a reality check. Besides, don't influencers get paid fat stacks to post advertisements on their social media pages anyways? Give mom a break, take her on a trip with you, and instead sell out so she can enjoy the rest of her life. I mean, that's the goal for me, you know, just buy my mom a house and let her retire happy. Moving on to number 5, Reddit user Arnie. Now Arnie here claims this story is about him and a friend, but I don't know what friend acts this way. Back when Arnie was in 4th or 5th grade, he saved up and got himself a Nintendo DS. Both him and his friend were gamers, and because of this, when Arnie got the DS, he brought it to school to play with his friend. Immediately the friend becomes jealous, praising Arnie's DS and saying things like, "I wish my parents would buy me one so we could play together." One day after school, Arnie and his friend are playing video games on both the DS and PlayStation. When Arnie's friend's dad arrives to pick up his friend, the kid dashes for the door. Arnie didn't think much of it until he couldn't find his DS. After searching all over and asking his family if they've seen it, Arnie was stumped. The next day at school, Arnie asks his friend about it, to which the friend replied, "I don't know, but you could borrow mine if you want." This was odd, considering how just a few days ago Arnie's friend was complaining his parents wouldn't buy him a DS. Lo and behold, turns out Arnie's friend stole his DS. All the markings on the console were the same, and he had the same game Arnie did. After Arnie had the DS for a few weeks, this kid had the audacity to ask Arnie for the DS back, or alternatively, just give him $100 for it. At this point, Arnie and his dad knew the friend was being a jerk because Arnie's dad had written the serial number down on the DS when they first bought it. The serial number matched the one Arnie's friend let him borrow, meaning not only did he steal his DS, but he also tried to sell it back to Arnie. Eventually, Arnie told him he knew it was his all along, and his so-called friend's face turned pale. I don't think they're friends anymore either. And at number 4, Nicolette Gray. Another case of spoiled teen's mom seeks help from Dr. Phil. 15-year-old Nicolette seems to be the worst of them all. In fact, Nicolette brought her mother onto the show because she felt cutting her allowance from $5,000 to $1,000 a month was unacceptable. Nicolette was hoping Dr. Phil would knock some sense into her mother, claiming she needs at least $2,500 a month to live. As I'm sure you can imagine, Dr. Phil wasn't having any of it. To make matters worse, Nicolette also expected her mother to buy her a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, which costs close to $250,000 for her 16th birthday. This girl is so far removed from the real world, she doesn't even go to school. Instead, she just took online classes because she got traumatized at her own school. Her own words, she got traumatized. And I'm gonna say that's the code for people calling her out for behaving the way she does and her not appreciating the hard truth that she's entitled. At the idea of getting a job, Nicolette responded that not only would she absolutely not get a job, but she wasn't willing to take less of an allowance. Because, you know, she has control over how much money her parents give her. Now at number 3, Reddit user Tony D'Amata. Now this story isn't as wild or as expensive as some of the others on this list, but I think it's more so the entitlement that really stood out to me. The idea that what this kid did is considered acceptable and almost something to be proud of just blew me away. So our friend Tony was eating at a Wendy's with his wife and daughter. Sitting at a booth nearby them was a grandmother and her 3 grandchildren, ages about 12, 8, and 5. The 12-year-old comes over to the table with a tray of food where his younger siblings and grandmother are already eating. The 12-year-old gloats and says, "I just told the guy at the counter that they forgot this stuff from our order and he gave it to me." The grandmother responded, "But we didn't order that food." The 12-year-old laughing says, "I know, so it's free." Here's where Tony decided to step in. Upon hearing this, he calls out the 12-year-old for lying about the food that he didn't order or pay for. The 12-year-old's smile fades and he tells Tony to mind his own business. Ashamed, the boy's grandma hands him money and tells him to go pay for the food and not to be rude to the gentleman who got himself involved, Tony. The grandma ended up apologizing to Tony on the 12-year-old's behalf, and he had to go to the counter and own up to his entitlement. I'm sure this 12-year-old will never forget the day that Tony called him out. And at number 2, North Kardashian West. Yep, the daughter of Kim and Kanye fully got exposed by her mother while on Ellen. Like any family that celebrates, the Kardashian Wests decided to have a photo shoot to send out some Christmas cards, or possibly to post on their social media, who knows. Either way, when the whole family agreed to get together, smile and say cheese, North wasn't having it. So much so, she was throwing fits and refused to be a part of the adorable family photo the Kardashian Wests were taking. At the end of the day, North got her way and was photoshopped into their Christmas photo, which Kim talked about well on Ellen's show. I mean, look, I know your dad is one of the best rappers of all time, but seriously, North, you need a vibe check, girl. Just check your vibe. And guys, don't even argue with me, Kanye is one of the best rappers of all time, right up there with Jay-Z. There's no argument. Moving on to number 1, Thomas Gilbert Jr. The 34-year-old Princeton University graduate was found guilty of killing his 70-year-old father, Thomas Gilbert Sr., back in 2015. During his trial, which took place in 2019, evidence was shown that Gilbert Jr. actually searched for a hitman online before ultimately doing the deed himself using a .40 caliber Glock, which was later found in his Manhattan apartment. Apparently the incident took place after Gilbert Sr. threatened to reduce his son's weekly allowance from $400 to $300. At the time, Sr. was also paying for his son's apartment in Manhattan. During the trial, Jr.'s mother was pleading for a light sentence, claiming that Jr. suffers from a handful of mental illnesses, including schizophrenia. However, the judge made it clear he had planned this for a while. He planned to find a way to get his mother out of the house so he could then attack his own father. And now Gilbert Jr. is facing a minimum of 30 years to life in prison. Well, this was a rather crazy list. Let me know in the comments below which number surprised you the most. For now, let's reply to some comments from the video. Top 10 deleted tweets you were never meant to see. Disney on Wheels said, if Jared is Mr. Pepper, I definitely need some seasoning. I saw what you did there. That was a good one. It was very funny and I included it. Even Chris laughed, the producer. Producer Chris laughed at that one. So you are funny. And I like that one. That was a good one. I don't know why I'm talking this way, but it's going to be on the next comment now. Chelsea Nicole said Kansas City is located in both Kansas and Missouri, but if I'm correct, the Chiefs are on the Missouri side. Just wanted to add that. LOL. Love the channel. Well, we appreciate your support. We love you lots too. And thank you for that, because I didn't know that. Here I am, being like, Donald Trump, you big old dummy. You didn't know Kansas City's in Missouri? But I was like, why is Kansas City in Missouri? Why is Kansas City not in Kansas State? Wouldn't that make the most sense? So I'm glad that we came to an agreement there. So then technically Donald Trump wasn't wrong. Technically he did make the state of Kansas happy, right? If technically Kansas City is located in both Kansas and Missouri, then really, how are we gonna call him out if he's technically speaking right here? I'm just saying. I'm not defending him, even though that is what I'm doing. I'm just saying, technically he wasn't wrong. Looney Spoony said, for a minute I was thinking tires were cut. That's a pretty heated response, bro. I know, when I saw it, I don't know, if I was mad at my longtime friend, I wouldn't tweet out tires are officially cut. That's like a very specific thing to say. I don't know how he came up with that. I would have just been like, friendship's over, you're a dick, or something. I wouldn't say tires are cut. Like, weird guy, man. But anyways, gonna wrap this one up, guys. I've been your host, Jared Bronstein. We'll see you guys in the next one.